And I'm freaking loving it, to be honest. I think I'm a fan. Next, we've got to pick up stitches for the sleeves, but I think that will be a task for tomorrow, to be honest. It just looks like a lot of stitches to pick up, and I don't know if I can be bothered. So we are picking up sleeve stitches. I've placed some stitch markers because it tells you how many to pick up in each section. So it tells you to pick up so many on the underarm, one at the shoulder seam, and then so many in between. So I've just kind of halved and halved to even out my stitches. And then I'm going to attempt to pick up stitches. Here's the thing, I don't know what side I'm meant to start on or which way round like I'm meant to go. Like, do I start from this side? Because I need to make sure that I'm knitting on the right side and not the wrong side. That's what's confusing me. We've now casted on all of our stitches, so we're just knitting in the last chart. So I just changed down to a smaller needle, just makes it easier on my left hand side. It just makes it easier to pick up stitches when you're working the round. And now I forgot which one I was up to. 3 knits, it goes 1 knit. You know what? I think this is going to be even quicker with the knitting in the round. Like, I just did 1 row already so quickly. I'm looking forward to finishing the sleeve. Okay, I'm going to come back once I got some length so we can see that come together. Right, so this sleeve is now knit to the length called for in the pattern in terms of repeats, but as you can see, it's super short. So I need to add on an extra probably 5 more repeats or so before we start the ribbing on the sleeve. I don't know if I've just got like super long arms or something, because the other jumper pattern that I had was like very similar, where it kind of stopped on my wrist and I had to knit way more in terms of length. But yeah, you can see in the body as well, I'm almost concerned that I've actually cut mine a little bit too short. So I stopped 2 chart repeats short to give it a cropped appearance, but I feel like it might be a little bit too cropped. Because the thing is, this fabric's very, very stretchy, but it keeps kind of like shrinking back up. So I don't know, I'm a little bit concerned on the body. It's finishing right, like my belly button's like right here. And I think it looks all right because I'm wearing my exercise tights right now, but if I wear my jeans are going to finish like right here-ish. They sit kind of just on or below my belly button, and I don't want to have a gap of like anything showing, you know? But in all honesty, I'll probably be wearing a black singlet, so it'll be fine. But yeah, actually, it's going to be perfectly fine because if I wear my black jeans, I have black singlet like this tucked in, so you won't necessarily notice if it is a little bit too short, but it's definitely not going to be long enough to do any front tuck. It's just going to sit cropped. So yeah, that's how we're looking. I think I'm going to go 3 buttons. These are just pinned in place at the moment, but I think I will stitch in those buttons. I've got some like spare thread floating around that I cut off from some other tails, so I might just purpose that to maybe stitch on the buttons just so that that's finished. But I'm liking the placement of where these are at. And yeah, I feel like the shoulder, can I just clip this here and see if it will clip to my top? There we are. I think for this, so you can see I can like stretch this down so that it meets like the measurement in terms of centimeters it's meant to be, but you can see it's still like way short. So yeah, I want it to be kind of big and balloony, so I kind of like one about there, and then I kind of went here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 repeats. I reckon 5. I'll stop at 4 and we'll see how it looks on and if we need more. But anyways, just looking pretty good at the moment. And I feel like the shoulder's looking better as well. It's definitely like pulling down and looks a little bit more like the picture, because in the picture you could see the drop shoulder kind of aspect of it, whereas when I've been trying it on, you can see it's quite high, but it's definitely doing that with the weight of the sleeve. But yeah, I don't know, what do you think? I'm taking it so far. I think it looks pretty good. Yeah, buttons are on. So I've stitched these all the way through both button bands because the pattern just calls for basically poking holes in and making them bigger. And I think I said this before, like I'll always wear this buttoned, like it's not something I'd wear open, so there's no need for me to have functional buttons. They're just really to keep it closed and for decorative purposes. So I just stitched them all the way through on both of them, and on the bottom, just with the leftover tail, I actually stitched down like this edge a little bit just to stop it from like pulling on the bottom and having like a little opening. But at the bottom, you know, it kind of stays overlapped, but this side doesn't look attached at all. It looks like it's an actual button band. I think these buttons are quite nice actually. They're kind of PowerShell buttons. Yeah, cute. Alright, I'm going to continue on the sleeve. So I'm going to do probably 4 more repeats on this and then try it on for size, and then I think I need 5 to be honest, but we'll stop at 4. We'll just see how it's looking. So we are effectively finished. Sleeves, everything's done. However, I feel like this is too cropped because you can see here's my pant line and we have a bit of a gap here. So when I initially knit this is 2 of these lace repeats shorter than what the pattern called for. And that's because when I blocked this, like as you can see, this is a very like stretchy fabric. So I was stretching it down and I was like, no, this length is pretty good. But then what happens is it kind of like cinches back up again. So I don't want to have to be like pulling this down all night to get it to like a correct length. So it doesn't look like terrible, but it definitely could do with some extra length. So what I'm going to actually do is undo this. I'm going to attempt to insert a lifeline just where this ribbing starts, knit 2 more repeats and redo the ribbing. So we should end up adding this much kind of to the bottom, which means it should come to where my button is on my pants and be that little bit longer. And the good thing with that is then I can either front tuck it if I wanted to, which I don't think I would because it's not really like oversized enough to do a front tuck, but I'll be able to like kind of cinch this up so that the ribbing sits where I want it to sit, and then this bit can maybe like bulge a little bit, if that makes sense. I can't kind of get it to do it, but you know what I mean, like so that it will puff out a little bit, so you can kind of just pull it up to where you want it to sit if it's a little bit too long. But yeah, otherwise I'm super happy with how this has come out. I'm happy with the sleeve length. It's looking pretty good. Keep in mind I have not washed this since finishing it, but regardless, I feel like it, based on this body, it's just going to like cinch back up to where we're at right now. So let's get to unraveling. Okay, so because this is ribbing, what I can find on the interwebs is that I do all the knit stitches on this side and then flip it and pick up the what's technically the purls on this side but would be knits on this side. So I've got to insert 2 lifelines in order to pick up my stitches correctly. So we'll see how this goes. Oh, I'm so annoyed I just did that. I just cut a hole in the wrong piece, so now this yarn is wasted yarn. Cool, so my camera cut out and you missed all of the unraveling, the best bit. But anyways, we've got one more row, I think, to unravel, but I've hit a snag with the seam. I might have to just try weave this on from here. Okay, so what I need to do now is count my stitches, make sure I haven't missed any. And hopefully I've put them all on the needles the correct way. And then we can just pick up from where we left off. I'm going to leave my lifeline in for now. We've got 1, 2, 3. So I'm up to the first repeat. Sorry, deep yarn over round. Just need to weave in these ends, reattach some buttons. I might just have to pin this and see how many buttons that I want, because I thought I'd only add on like one more down here. I feel like I could almost do two. Otherwise I'll just have to unpick. Can you even see that? Unpick one of these and just move it down a little bit. Which is what I think I will end up doing, because I think I liked where this top button was. So I might just have to unpick that and move it down a little bit, and then put a button here as well. Let's have a look.
And the waves clasp one
And here's the finished piece. In all honesty, I'm super happy with how this has come out. You know, when I first started knitting the kind of lace, I was a little bit like, I don't know if I'm gonna love this kind of lace pattern. I was also iffy about like the purple color of the yarn, but I feel like held with that grey mohair, it's just come out like a really kind of nice color. I feel like it works with my skin. The fabric feels really, really nice, because this purple yarn is like a chain knit construction. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that, but it's like very airy and lightweight. So this entire cardigan is very like lightweight, but super duper warm. Like obviously it's got holes in it, so you know, if you're walking outside in the wind is just going to go straight through it. But just like sitting around in a room or something like that, it is super warm and cozy. So I love that. In terms of the specifications for my piece, the body section, I initially knit like 2 chart repeats shorter than what we have here, because I had blocked it, and I guess I had just maybe stretched it out a little bit too much, but I felt like it was a really good length. So I ended up finishing it off, doing the ribbing, attaching my buttons and everything. But over, I guess the material kind of like cinched back up a little bit as it's kind of like sat around. And so when I kind of had finished everything, I was like, nah, it looks a little bit too cropped. Like there's a bit of a gap between where my like jeans finished and the top, like the cardigan kind of came to. There's a little bit of a gap, and I was like, it's just a little bit too cropped. So I did end up ripping back the ribbing, and I knitted an additional 2 repeats, which means the length of the cardigan is what's actually called for in the pattern. And yeah, I just refinished it off. I also had 3 buttons initially, and with the additional length I just added on a 4th button there. Now when I did do the rip back and add on, because the button band was initially knit separately and attached, I didn't continue to knit it separately. I actually tried to knit it all in one, but because we're using 2 different needle sizes, and it was initially like the body and button band also have additional edge stitches to allow for them to be seamed together. You can kind of see just on that bottom section from where I've like previously seamed, and then when I've tried to just knit it all as like one piece, it looks a little bit messy and uneven. I don't think my stitch count was 100% right. I maybe needed to reduce like 1 stitch in this section. I also, you can see here, I forgot that the button band was knit with smaller needles, and I did one with the 6mm, one row with the 6mm needles. But overall, I don't think it's like crazy noticeable, like that kind of bit where I've kind of attempted to bring everything together. Like when I point it out, you can kind of see it, but like initially and as you're wearing it, I don't think it's very noticeable at all. In terms of my sleeve length, as with most patterns, I do end up needing to knit extra length on the sleeves. They all seem to finish at like a 3/4 length on me. So for this one, I ended up doing an extra 6 chart repeats before starting the ribbing. I did initially plan just to do like 5, but I wasn't paying attention to where this chart started and finished, and I actually had halfway knit through another chart, so we ended up doing 6, which is fine. It's literally only like an additional couple rows of knitting, but yeah, it's just a really nice length, and you get that little kind of like puff on the sleeve. So I haven't blocked this yet since finishing it, so I don't know if the sleeves are going to grow anymore, but at the moment they're like the perfect length. The only other things, what else did I do? Oh, Italian bind off. Okay, so I finished all of my edges with an Italian bind off, and I gotta say, this 1x1 rib in the Italian bind off, it just looks so good. Like I'm getting the hype of the Italian bind off. Like on my other jumper, I was kind of like, oh, I don't know if it's really worth it, but looking at it on this piece, like I just think it looks like such a nice, crisp, neat edge, and I'm really digging it. Like I totally get the hype, loving it. I also didn't add the buttonholes for mine. I literally just sewed these buttons through both button bands. I didn't like how the instructions in the pattern were for making buttonholes. Like you literally just poke a hole in this button band and you kind of like enlarge that hole and then seam it so it stays open. Kind of just, I don't know, I don't know if that's like a common approach to how you'd make buttons, but I felt like it would be kind of like a messy buttonhole. And I never wear short cardigans like this open, so I don't need functioning buttonholes or buttons. So I just kind of stitched the piece together with the buttons in place, and then on this very last one I did kind of seam down these edges together just so that they sit nice and flat when you're actually like wearing the piece. It doesn't like stretch open at all. You can see. So I did that as the only other change that I did. In terms of time to make this piece, this was probably one of the quickest things that I've made. It took me 100.5 hours to knit up. It's kind of an approximation because I don't always accurately take note of the time where I pick up a piece of work, so I kind of like guesstimate how much time I've spent working on it. But you know, about 100 hours to knit this piece, and I made it over the course of 5 weeks, but I did actually go away on holiday during that. So basically this took me a month to bring together, which is super quick. The only other thing that I've made in a month was a beanie. So to make an entire cardigan in a month, I just found super impressive. But because you're using like large needles, and I don't know if the lace has anything to do with it being a quicker knit, but like this just literally, when they say it flies off the needles, it flew off the needles. So in terms of materials and cost, I ended up using just shy of 8 balls of the purple yarn, so about half of what I had purchased, and I used 1 3/4 of a ball, so just shy of 2 balls of the mohair. in this piece. I did initially start with 3 buttons, but I added on 4 buttons. So the cost of all this plus the pattern, it comes to $52.60. It's Australian. And to be honest, like, I feel like that's such a good deal, particularly knowing that this yarn is legit merino and alpaca. The Temu yarn, I don't know if it's actually mohair in there or not, but knowing that that's legit and that's majority of the cardigan, like, I feel like it's such a bargain knit to get this for like $50. It looks so good too. So my thoughts on the pattern itself, it was super detailed, super easy to read. Even though it is charts, the charts are pretty well explained. So each size has its own set of charts, and like each section, like, you know, the front panels, the back panels, the sleeves, everything has its own like chart. And on the chart, it also tells you like how many times you need to like repeat the repeat section. So it's like, I really appreciate that, because I've looked at a free pattern that had lace work on it, and that one was super confusing because it was basically like just different sizes. You started in different parts of this chart, and it had the repeat section, but it didn't tell you how many times you need to repeat that. I don't know if I was just totally like not reading it in the pattern somewhere, but like, I found that chart to be super confusing. I found the charts for this to be much more straightforward. In saying that, I find reading charts a little bit confusing, particularly when you start, because I never really know if I'm on the right side or the wrong side for just the first few rows until your like pattern starts to establish itself. So I found it easier just to write out the pattern, like, you know, knit whatever, purl whatever, yarn over whatever, and really just like spell it out so that I could follow it. But once you get going on your work, it becomes very easy to like read your knitting and understanding the charts. Like, it's a very basic lace pattern, I would say, in terms of lace. So it's very easy to remember as well. So you get the hang of it very quickly. So I think it's spelt out really nicely. I didn't really have any confusing points in terms of construction pattern. I will say that on a couple of charts, just on these kind of like front sections where you've got the increases, I did find it a little bit confusing on a couple of them, where it would specify an increase stitch, but it wouldn't indicate if it was like a left or a right leaning, particularly for like the pearls. I'm pretty sure it just said make 1p, and it didn't say if it was like a left or a right lean. I kind of got the gist of it and was able to kind of follow like my work and what prior like increases were. There was also one spot on one of the charts where it had like a U symbol. Now, I'm fairly confident that that is definitely like some sort of typo error that's on the pattern, because there was no corresponding like key symbol for this U. I even did like a Google to try find out what this U stitch was meant to be. Couldn't find anything, so I don't think U is a symbol in knitting. But I just looked at the chart for the opposite side and just kind of copied whatever stitch was meant to be in its place, which I think was like an increased stitch. Other than that, I found it like really straightforward to kind of follow the instructions that were written out in the pattern. The only other thing with the pattern, and I find this with all of the kind of Scandinavian patterns, is that even though your pattern might be in English, the links to any video tutorials for any techniques is going to be in their native language. It is a little bit annoying because you go to click on it and some of them don't even have subtitles, so it's not like you can even get the English translation, but it's super easy just to look up another video, and the ones that I did need to look up I have linked down below in case you are looking for a certain video. But you know, the internet is full of tutorials on everything that you need to know, so it is not challenging to figure it out. So in terms of what I learned when making this piece, to be honest, most of this construction was like new to me. So it's the first time I've done a cardigan, but making a cardigan is pretty straightforward. You're just really knitting flat instead of like knitting something in the round, you know, apart from the sleeves and in the round. The lace and like reading charts, that was definitely new to me. And then, like I said before, I just found it a little bit easier to start off with writing out the pattern in rows, just because of getting confused between whether or not I was working the right side or the wrong side, but it becomes much easier as you kind of progress along. Doing the like kind of attaching the button band with the crochet seam. I haven't done any crochet work before, but that was very easy. I just watched a quick tutorial on that. Otherwise, yeah, I think that's it for like in terms of techniques, because I didn't do any buttonholes. Like this is the first time I've done attaching buttons, but like I opted not to do those buttonholes, so I can't really say that I learned anything new there. But even still, like all of those techniques were pretty straightforward. Like it's a very quick and easy piece. If I was to make it again, would I change anything? To be honest, I don't think I would change anything. I would obviously just knit my body section all the way down, but that's my own fault. I think the body section as well, it wasn't quite as oversized as I was initially hoping it would be, but that's down to like my yarn choice. I possibly could have got away with making size large, but I think the fit of the medium, like it looks great on. I'm really happy with the outcome of this piece, and I think I'm going to get a lot of wear out of it. So overall, I like really enjoyed making this. I would definitely recommend this pattern if you are wanting a kind of like oversized lace cardigan. Definitely don't be intimidated by this lace work. It's actually fairly easy to do, and I think it looks very effective as well. Like someone's to come up to you and like compliment your cardigan, you can be like, yeah, I made this. You know, it looks like it's a very, I don't know, complex knit, but it actually it's fairly straightforward, and it just comes together so quickly. And because it comes together, like you make so much progress, it's really motivating to keep working on it as well, because you get close to like finishing one section and you kind of just want to keep going, finish that section. So that helps with like completing this project as well, because you see it coming together and becoming a completed piece so quickly. I was definitely motivated to keep working on this, hence why I was able to finish it in basically a month. So yeah, I think that's all I really have to say on my cardigan number 6. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this one come together. I'm actually about to start another cardigan, actually 2 different cardigans. They're kind of the same, but they're different. So if you do like these kind of videos, like I said, do those YouTube things so that when those projects are done and I do the project vlogs, you don't miss out on watching them. I also do kind of regular updates on like where I'm at in the month with all the pieces that I'm working on at that current point in time. So, you know, if you're keen on those, subscribe and do all that jazz so you don't miss those. Otherwise, I think that's about it. I'm just rambling now. So hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. All right, bye guys. Hey guys, my name's Emma, and what do I normally say? Oh, I have not done an outro script for it. Cool. I haven't even written an intro script for it. Okay, let's just record this bit first because I'm sweating. I don't even know if this is the right way around or not. I think it is the right way around. There's something wrong there. Oh, I've got too many holes here. I think I did something wrong there. Okay, I have no idea when my audio cut out. I lost a little ball of my microphone. Okay, I don't know where the buttons are. Pattern itself, I'm going to put this down. There's so much traffic. I hope you can't hear any of that traffic noise. Poke holes. Poke a hole. A hole. Poke a hole. Poking holes.